According to projections, Africa's population will increase by 90% by 2050, reaching almost 2.5 billion people, with Nigeria having the highest population of 401 million. This is alarming as the smallholder farmers who grow 80% of the food we eat are unable to keep up with the rising demand due to the several challenges they face, as well as the effects of climate change, which are becoming more pronounced. Those effects include flooding and erosion, which results in high pre- and post-harvest losses. According to the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, a record 282 million people, about 20% of the current population in Africa, faced food insecurity in 2022, and this figure could potentially rise to 310 million by 2030. But this is where Agritech is coming into the picture and paving the way for a new era in farming across the continent. Hundreds of Agritech products have been springing up across Africa, which has witnessed over the past couple of years a dramatic increase in foreign funding earmarked for agricultural technology. Just how far can Agritech go in Africa? Joining me now is Uka Eje. He's the CEO of ThriveAgric, one of Africa's fastest growing technology-driven agricultural companies. Uka, welcome to Business Edge. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
So let's start with the impact report that you released last week. And your farmer network in the past few years has grown quite extensively. You've grown to about 500,000 farmers in about 6 years, producing 1.5 million metric tons of grain in the same period. So what have you learned about the challenges that the African agricultural sector is facing throughout the years of your work, and what you see detailed in this report?
Okay, once again, thank you for having me. We've learned a number of, we've seen quite a number of challenges so far. From the point where we started, the goal has been very simple, and the vision has been to build an Africa that feeds the world and itself. And in all the challenges that we face, it still points out to the desire to solve that vision, to respond to what that vision entails. To build an Africa that feeds the world and itself. So and many of these times we see, what we have to respond to are the diverse amount of possibilities, even in the midst of the challenges that is faced. So far we've been able to onboard over 500,000 rural smallholder farmers. It attests to the fact that there's quite a number of opportunities, and Africa has over 43 million smallholder farmers that it has to, Nigeria has over 43 million smallholder farmers that it has to respond to, and Africa number is over 500 million. So I mean, that's just a drop in the ocean of problems that we need to solve. So as much as we are excited, we see a lot of opportunities, and we just are ready to solve that and go forward.
And so I want us to go to the opportunities, because on the flip side of challenges, we have to have the opportunities. And when you look at the data, it's really interesting because investments in Africa's agri-tech sector has grown immensely in the past few years. From about $19 million in 2016, we're going into much more than that. The number of startups in the sector has also increased as well. So what are the opportunities that we're seeing, the opportunities that are ready to be taken advantage of when it comes to the agricultural sector and the combination of technology in that sector? Okay,
thank you. So, looking at agriculture as a whole, there are quite a lot of branches in agriculture. Agritech might be pretty new, but agriculture by itself has been for a lot of years, right? So, we see a lot of opportunities around producing the right seed. Many farmers, especially farmers in Africa, are still using really old seeds. Technology, especially around helping farmers use the best seeds, and also technology around advisory, right? These are really great opportunities where investments have been coming in. Also, speaking about opportunity around advisory, as I said earlier, has been, currently is some of the really essential areas where farmers need support and adequate support, right? Because many farmers, as I said, would make as much as low as a ton, 0.5 metric tons. That's 1.5 metric tons, which is about 15 bags. The difference between a farmer who makes 1.5 metric tons and a farmer who makes as much as 6 metric tons, which is about 60 bags, is pretty much the seed and advisory primarily. So there's a lot of opportunity within that window that a lot of farmers in Nigeria and African farmers can tap.
So while your success, and that is ThriveAgric's success, is very visible, we can't ignore the fact that the agri-tech sector has come under intense scrutiny, particularly in Nigeria in the past few weeks, due to some large-scale misappropriation, fraud, and other serious allegations that have been leveled against companies like FarmFort and Tingo. So let me ask this specifically to you now. Why does the agricultural sector seem an easy target for fraud? How did some of these companies get as far as they did with the things that they claimed, and yet at the end of the day, they defrauded their investors?
So in responding to that question, I mean, it's going to be pretty tough to speak on particular business models, because I don't think I have full information on what many of the business models who have been labeled as fraud look like. I mean, it takes full understanding of the business data, and also the business model to be able to associate where fraud is or what fraud is. So, but to speak on some of the things that we have been able to do, but then to speak on businesses and the concerns that have been raised so far, I think that integrity is a key prerequisite for success, right? And regardless of the shortfall that can exist in agriculture requires agri-tech and agriculture widely requires a lot of resilience. Building takes a lot of resilience for the kind of solution, especially building for Africa. Africa is not, I mean, agri-tech pretty much has a little template, right? So a number of businesses might come in for really, really great intentions, but it's usually beyond the intention for you to succeed. And what we have been able to do largely, especially during 2020 when we had crisis, was to stay true to the game. I mean, it was really an intense period for us then, and to ensure that that period integrity was the most important thing, even though payments was delayed. And I think that should be the thinking for many of the people who have had issues over time.
So you've spoken to, as you said, the situation that ThriveAgric faced in 2020, which also became quite a media conversation as well. But we all know that hindsight, we can agree, is 2020. So when we talk about whether it's retail investors or even institutional investors as a way of educating people in this conversation, what is some of the due diligence that you think investors need to do? What are the questions that they should be asking? What are the red flags that investors should not ignore when it comes to their involvement in agri-tech companies?
Okay, so I think what is very important, regardless of how an organization flag themselves, is important that this company have a strong operation. And I think that that these are the things that investors should be looking out for. Is there a strong feet in the ground? Does the business have a strong foot in the ground? I mean, how robust is the operational model? And it's good to check what the business model is like before investing in a business. And I think these are some critical asks that an investor should look like. And also, what is the expertise of the wider team? And what are the risk mitigation systems that have been put together just in case things go wrong? And as much as agriculture is new, these are really important. As much as agri-tech is pretty a new thinking so far, I think these are the really very important things investors should look out for. The robustness of the team. It should span across the value chain that these businesses are focusing on, and also what are the risk mitigation system. And also, I believe that for many agri-tech systems, one should be careful to know, I mean, is there a product market fit, right, for the product that is being built, right? Agriculture is specific. I mean, if you are building for the farmers, for instance, does the product being built really address the problems of the farmers, right? If you are building for a warehousing system, for instance, and the product that is being built, I mean, do they specifically solve that problem? That's what I mean by product market fit. Or a marketplace problem, does the problem that is being built, I mean, the product being built address for this problem? I think that these are more and many more questions investors should look out for, and must cross-verify with businesses before dropping their cash.
All right. Okay, I have two questions that I want us to get to before we wrap. Last year, Ventures Africa reported that African agri-tech startups had received $95 million worth of funding in 2021, recording a 58.5% year-on-year increase. This amount constitutes just about 4.4% of the overall funding that African tech startups received last year. So when we look towards the future, how is the Nigerian agri-tech ecosystem, which is the largest on the continent, future-proofing to minimize the success of fraudulent businesses and then to also boost investor confidence? If you can give me that answer in just 1 minute.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll try to cap that quickly. So I think we need to have a lot more agric acceleration hubs, right? And I think that's important. I was privileged to have that when we started building at ThriveAgric. And then, I mean, that hub helped our business, helped question our business model. And I think that there are quite a lot of meaning youths who would want to venture in this space. And the knowledge gap is quite wide. A lot of people would want to know about the space also. And that would help pretty much a lot of investors to see and verify businesses beforehand, before investing. So that's one. And also, I think there should be a lot of collaboration between multiple stakeholders. That would help a lot of help to future-proof it as well.
All right, so my final question. 60% of the world's unused arable land, 54% of the continent's population working in agriculture. When we're looking at the challenges ahead, particularly climate change, as how that's going to affect production and how that's going to affect the smallholder farmers, what do you think are the trends we need to keep our eyes on in the next couple of years when it comes to agri-tech? Give me your top 3 trends as we wrap up.
Okay, thank you. So one of the things we need to always also look at is, as I was saying, there is hardly any framework to copy to build agricultural products. So, I mean, many times you have to go to the field, go to the field, keep building, iterating, multiple iteration, right? So, I think one of the things that we need to do to be able to scale up is first, increasing the number of investment opportunities, investment in verifiable agricultural businesses, and also looking also at data, right? Because largely there's little data in agriculture. Businesses who are able to build products that can be able to gather data from the field, that would be very helpful to scale up agriculture across Africa.
All right, Uka Eje, we'll leave it at that. ThriveAgric has released their yearly report looking at the spread of things across the continent, but also with a focus on Nigeria, particularly being one of the largest markets, if not the largest market for agricultural technology here on the continent. Thank you so much for sharing your time today, and we look forward to speaking to you again.
Thank you very much.
All right. And that's as much as we can take on this episode of Business Edge. Don't forget to follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. We have a website. We also have a mobile app that you can download and take with you wherever you go across the continent and even beyond. Till next time, I'm Tolulope Adelru-Balogun. You have News Central now come your way at the top of the 12 p.m. West African time hour. Do have a good weekend.